All right, we're starting on page 98. Today's another day without a genre-based thinking job, but make sure you're annotating and ready to answer some multiple choice questions at the end. Starting right here, make sure you're following along on your copy. On the way home, we stopped at the homes of some of Mama's students, where families poured out of tenant shacks to greet us. At each farm, Mom spoke about the bad influence of the Wallaces, of the smoking and drinking permitted at their store, and asked that the family's children not be allowed to go there. The people nodded and said she was right. She also spoke of finding another store to patronize, one where the proprietors were more concerned about the welfare of the community. But she did not speak directly of what the Wallaces had done to the Berries, for as she explained later, that was something that wavered between the known and the unknown, and to mention it outright to anyone outside of those with whom you were closest was not wise. There were too many ears that listened for others besides themselves, and too many tongues that wagged to those they shouldn't. The people only nodded, and Mama left. When we reached the Turner farm, Moe's widowed father rubbed his stubbled chin and squinted across the room at Mama. "Miss Logan," he said, "you know I feels the same way you do about them low-down Wallaces, but it ain't easy to stop shopping there. They overcharges me, and I has to pay them high interest, but I gats credit there 'cause Mr. Monier signs for me. Now you know most folks around here sharecropping on Monier, Granger, or Harrison land, and most of them just 'bout got to shop at that Wallace store, or up at that Mercantile in Strawberry, which is just about as bad. Can't go no place else." Mama nodded solemnly, showing she understood, then said, "For the past year now our family has been shopping down at Vicksburg. There are a number of stores down there, and we found several that treat us well." "Vicksburg?" Mr. Turner echoed, shaking his head. "Lord, Miss Logan, you ain't expecting me to go all the way down to Vicksburg? That's an overnight journey in a wagon down there and back." Mama thought on that a moment. "What if someone would be willing to make the trip for you? Go all the way to Vicksburg and bring back what you need." "Won't do no good," retorted Mr. Turner. "I got no cash money. Mr. Monier signs for me up at that Wallace store so as I can get my tools, my mule, my seed, my fertilizer, my food, and what few clothes I needs to keep my children from running plumb naked. When cotton picking time comes, he sells my cotton, takes half of it, pays my debt up at the store and my interest for they credit, then charges me 10 to 15% more as risk money for signing for me in the first place. This year I earned me near $200 after Mr. Monier took his half of the crop money, but I ain't seen a penny of it. In fact, if I manages to come out even, without owing that man nothing, I figures I've had a good year. Now who way down in Vicksburg gonna give a man like me credit?" Mama was very quiet and did not answer. "I'm sure sorry, Miss Logan. I'm gonna keep my young'uns from up at that store, but I gots to live. Y'all got it better'n most folks around here 'cause y'all's got your own place, and y'all ain't got a cow tail to a lot of this stuff. But you gotta understand it ain't easy for sharecropping folks to do what you askin'." "Mr. Turner," Mama said in a whisper, "what if someone backed your signature? Would you shop up in Vicksburg then?" Mr. Turner looked at Mama strangely. "Now who'd sign for me?" "If someone would you do it?" Mr. Turner gazed into the fire, burning to a low ash, then got up and put another log on it, taking his time as he watched the fire shoot upward and suck in the log. Without turning around, he said, "When I was a wee little boy, I got burnt real bad. It healed over, but I ain't never forgot the pain of it. It's an awful way to die." Then turning, he faced Mama. "Miss Logan, you find someone to sign my credit, and I'll consider it deeply." After we left the Turners, Stacy asked, "Mama, who you gonna get to sign?" But Mama, her brow furrowed, did not reply. I started to repeat the question, but Stacy shook his head, and I settled back wondering, then fell asleep. Chapter 5. The blue-black shine that had so nicely encircled TJ's left eye for over a week had almost completely faded by the morning. TJ hopped into the back of the wagon beside Stacy, and snuggled in a corner not occupied by the butter, milk, and eggs Big Ma was taking to sell at the market in Strawberry. I sat up front beside Big Ma, still sandy-eyed and not believing that I was actually going. The second Saturday of every month was market day in Strawberry, and for as far back as I can remember, the boys and I had been begging Big Ma to take us. Stacy had actually gone once, but Christopher John Littleman and I had always been flatly denied the experience. We had in fact been denied so often that our pestering now occurred more out of habit than from any real belief that we would be allowed to go. But this morning, while the world lay black, Big Ma called, "Cassie, get up, child, if you want to go to town with me, and be quiet about it. You wake up Christopher John or Little Man, and I'll leave you here. I don't want them crying all over the place 'cause they can't go." As Jack swept the wagon into the gray road, Big Ma pulled tightly on the reins and grumbled, "Hold on, you Jack, hold on. I ain't got no time to be putting up with both you and TJ's foolishness." "TJ?" Stacy and I exclaimed together. "He going?" Big Ma didn't answer immediately. She was occupied in a test of wills with Jack. When hers had prevailed and Jack had settled into a moderate trot, she replied moodily, "Mr. Avery come by after y'all was asleep last night wanting TJ to go to Strawberry to do some shopping for a few things he couldn't get at the Wallace store. Lord, that's all I need, with all the trouble about is for that child to talk me to death for 22 miles. Big Ma didn't need to say any more, and she didn't. TJ was far from her favorite person, and it was quite obvious that Stacy and I owed our good fortune entirely to TJ's obnoxious personality. TJ, however, was surprisingly subdued when he settled into the wagon. I suppose that at 3:30 in the morning, even TJ's mouth was tired. But by dawn, when the December sun was creeping warily upon shooting pale streams of buff-colored light through the forest, he was fully awake and chatting like a cockatoo. His endless talk made me wish that he had not managed to wheedle his way so speedily back into Stacy's good graces. But Big Ma, her face furrowed in distant thoughts, did not hush him. He talked the rest of the way into Strawberry, announcing as we arrived, "Well, children, open your eyes and take in Strawberry, Mississippi." "Is this it?" I cried, a gutting disappointment enveloping me as we entered the town. Strawberry was nothing like the tough, sprawling bigness I had envisioned. It was instead a sad, red place. As far as I could see, the only things modern about it were a paved road which cut through a center and fled northward, away from it, and a spindly row of electrical lines. Lining the roads were strips of red dirt splotched with patches of brown grass and drying mud puddles, and beyond the dirt and mud puddles, gloomy store buildings set behind raised wooden sidewalks and sagging verandas. "Shoot!" I grumbled. "And sure ain't nothing to shout about." "Hush up, Cassie," Big Ma said. "You too, TJ. Y'all in town now, and I expect y'all to act like it. In another hour this place will be teeming up with folks from all over the county, and I don't want no trouble." As the store gave way to houses still sleeping, we turned onto a dirt road which led past more shops, and beyond to a wide field dotted with wooden stalls. Near the field entrance, several farm wagons and pickups were already parked, but Big Ma drove to the other side of the field, where only 2 wagons were stationed. Climbing from the wagon, she said, "Don't seem like too many folks ahead of us. In the summer, I've had to come on a Friday and spend the night to get a spot like this." She headed toward the back of the wagon. "Stacy, you and TJ stay up there a minute and push them milk cans over so I can reach 'em." "Big Ma," I said, following her, "all them folks up there selling milk and eggs, too?" "Not all, I reckon. Some of 'em got meats and vegetables, quilts and sewing and such. But I guess a good piece of 'em selling the same as us." I studied the wagons parked at the field entrance, then exclaims, "Well, what the devil we doing way back here, then? Can't nobody see us?" "Watch your mouth, big girl," warned Big Ma. Then arranged the milk cans and baskets of eggs near the wagon's edge. She softened her voice and promised, "We'll do all right. I got me some regular customers, and they'll check to see if I'm here before they buy." "Not back here, they won't," I grumbled. Maybe Big Ma knew what she was doing, but it made absolutely no sense to me to be so far from the entrance. Most of the other farmers seemed to have the right idea, and I couldn't help but try to make her see the business sense in moving the wagon forward. "Why don't we move our wagon up there with them other wagons, Big Ma? There's plenty of room, and we could sell more." "Them's white folks' wagons, Cassie," Big Ma said gruffly, as if that explained everything. "Now hush up and help me get this food out." "Shoot," I mumbled, taking one of the buckets from Stacy. "By the time a body walk way back here, they'll have bunions on their soles and corns on their toes." By noon, the crowd which had covered the field during the early morning had thinned noticeably, and wagons and trucks began to pack up and head for town. After we had eaten our cold lunch of oil sausages and cornbread washed down with clabber milk, we did the same. On the main street of Strawberry once more, Big Ma parked the wagon in front of a building where 4 shingles hung from a rusted post. One of the shingles read, "Wade W. Jameson, Attorney at Law." "Mr. Jameson live here?" I cried, scrambling down. "I want to see him." "You don't live here," said Big Ma, opening her large purse. She pulled out a long manila envelope, checked inside, then gingerly put it back again. "This here's his office, and I got some business with him. You get on back in the wagon." Big Ma climbed down, but I didn't get back in. "Can't I just go up and say, 'Hey'?" I persisted. "I'm gonna hey you," Big Ma said. "You keep pestering me." She glanced over at Stacy and TJ. "Y'all wait here for me, and as soon as I get back, we'll go do that shopping so's we can get on home before it's dark." When she had gone inside, TJ said, "What you want to see that old white man for anyway, Cassie? What you and him got to talk about?" "I just wanted to see him, that's all," I said, going to the raised sidewalk and taking a seat. I liked Mr. Jameson, and I didn't mind admitting it. He came to see us several times a year, mainly on business, and although the boys and I were somewhat shy of him, we were always glad to see him. He was the only white man I had ever heard address Mama and Big Ma as Missus, and I liked him for that. Besides that, in his way he was like Papa. Ask him a question, and he would give it to you straight, with none of this footing around business. I like that. After several minutes of watching farmers in faded overalls and their women in flower sack cut dresses promenading under the verandas, TJ said, "Why don't we go down onto the mercantile and look around?" Stacy hesitated. "I don't know. I think Big Ma wanted to go with us." "Aw, shoot, man. We'll be doing her a favor. If we go on down to the mercantile now and order up our stuff, we'll save her some time so when she come from seeing that lawyer, we can just go on home. Besides, I got something to show you." Stacy pondered the suggestion for a long moment. "Well, I guess it'll be all right," he said finally. "Big Ma said stay here," I objected, hoping that Mr. Jameson would come out with Big Ma. "Stay here, then," Stacy called over his shoulder as he crossed the street with TJ. I dashed after them. I wasn't about to stay on that sidewalk by myself. The Barnett Mercantile had everything. Its shelves, counters, and floor space boasted items from ladies' ribbons to burlap bags of seeds, from babies' bottles to brand-new pot-bellied stoves. TJ, who had been to the store several times before, wove his way among the farmers and led us to a counter at the far corner of the store. The counter had a glass stop, and beneath the glass were handguns, artfully displayed on a bolt of red velvet. "Just look at it," TJ said dreamily. "Ain't she something?" "What?" I said. "That pearl-handled one. Stacy, man, you ever seen a gun like that before in your whole life? I'd sell my life for that gun. One of these days I'm gonna have it, too." "I reckon I ain't," said Stacy politely. "It's a nice-looking gun, all right." I stared down at the gun. A price tag of $35.95 stared back at me. $35.95, I almost screamed. "Just for an old gun? What the devil are you going to use it for? Can't hunt with it." TJ looked at me with disgust. "Ain't supposed to hunt with it. It's for protection." "Protection of what?" I asked, thinking of Papa's sturdy shotgun that hung over his and Mama's bed, and the sleek Winchester rifle which Big Ma kept locked in the trunk beneath our bed. "That thing could hardly kill a rattlesnake." "There's other things a body needs protecting from more than a rattlesnake," he said haughtily. "I get me that gun and ain't nobody gonna mess with me. I wouldn't need nobody." Stacy backed away from the counter. He seemed nervous being in the store. "We better get those things you need and get on out here before Big Ma comes looking for us." "Aw, man, there's plenty of time," said TJ, looking longingly at the gun. "Sure wish I could just hold it just once." "Come on," TJ ordered Stacy, "or me and Cassie's gonna go on back outside."